Hi, I'm Father Michael Orsi. I'm your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program which brings you the big G for the gospel of Jesus Christ and the little g, all the good things that people do to put that gospel of life into action. As I have told you many, many times in the past, ladies and gentlemen, of course we are concerned about the unborn because life is sacred from the moment of conception until natural death. But there are so many other issues that we have to discuss because, why? Human life needs to be taken care of physically. Yeah, baby has to be born in order for the baby to have rights, right? So that's foundational. Also, mentally, make sure the baby is properly trained and educated to be a good person, to have socialization skills. Skills that pertain to human knowledge, how to live and work in this world. And of course, it all connects spiritually to help the child to become a responsible adult and someday to get to heaven. That's what this show is all about. Now, you know that I have a lot of issues. I got issues, all right? And every week there's something else that it just agitates me. I can't even read the newspaper these days without taking my Xanax. One of the big issues today is education. I mean, this drives old Father O up the wall as to what is going on in our school system. And I mean, you hear about critical race theory. I mean, the whole country is all, I'm going to use an Italian word here. It's all stunado. Everything is crazy. That's what stunado means. It means crazy. And then you hear about teaching regarding human sexuality. We can't say this is a boy. We can't say this is a girl. They're even saying now that men can have babies. Ladies and gentlemen, something is definitely wrong. The devil's got to be in this. No human being could think up this nonsense on their own. Now, I have a wonderful lady here today. Her name is Mary Miller. And she is going to talk to us about parents defending education. Parents that, look, ladies and gentlemen, it's got to come from the parents. You can't depend on those bureaucrats and administrative agencies. You got to get involved yourself. You got to get your hands dirty. You know what? Well, I can't get violent, but I mean, like, I give one of these knuckleheads a real knuckle sandwich for the stuff that they're teaching. If they taught that to my kid, holy cow. I mean, I guess I'd be in the hoot scow. Anyway, let's talk to Mary. You know hoot scow. You know hoot scow. I'd be in the big house. Jail. Okay.
Father, it's such a pleasure to be with you and get to talk to your viewers. And it sounds like you have all of the issues down cold. You really do.
Well, we try the best we can to, keep everybody on top of the situation. But every time I think I got the situation figured, another situation arises. So that's why we have you on here to tell the parents about what you do and how they can do the same thing. We've got to be involved.
Well, Parents Defending Education definitely found that the education situation has changed in recent years, especially since 2020. So parents are seeing the concerns with critical race theory, like you mentioned, gender ideology. There's a lot of political activism going on in the school system right now. And so Parents Defending Education is working on getting that message out to parents, providing tools and resources for parents. You can contact us when you have concerns. And we're talking about public school and private school. We're finding that the issues are coming from national groups, and they're influencing public schools and private schools alike.
Okay, so what got you involved in this? Because, I mean, you're like a normal, average type person. You have kids in school, or do you teach? How did you get involved with this?
Yes, I have a middle schooler, a high schooler, and a college student, and they've all attended public schools and private schools. And we have I think we understand what's going on with our school system. And when parents are seeing concerns at their kids' school, it's not a matter of, a left-leaning teacher or one wayward principal. There are some national groups that are influencing schools Specifically, I think a lot of your audience members are probably aware of the radical protests that have occurred since the draft of the Supreme Court decision earlier this month. And probably saw the protests at justices' homes or at churches. What I want to let you know, Father, is that some of these activities, these protests, are happening in our nation's schools as well, meaning to say these groups have organized school walkouts, have organized kids to protest and protest for pro-abortion positions. And there are groups in school that connect students to these activist campaigns.
Okay, but Mary, how did you get involved with something like this? Did your children, you have sons, daughters, they brought home something and said, "Hey, Ma, look at this. This is what we learned in school today." I mean, how did you get involved with this?
Parents Defending Education formed about a year ago in response to what we were seeing, these rapid transformations in our nation's schools after 2020. And so we're all working together with parents and other nonprofit groups in trying to right the ship, essentially.
Okay, but what made you get involved? Did something happen to one of your children? Did you get involved on the school board? What happened?
I definitely have worked with the school board. I've also worked with school administrators in public schools. I have expressed concerns and worked with parent groups in my children's private schools. So I've seen it from both sides, between public and private.
Okay. Now, when you talk about private schools, are you talking about religious private schools or, private schools?
Well, whether we're talking about private schools or parochial schools, we're seeing a lot of similar issues. Specifically, even Catholic schools are often members of secular schools associations that bring ideas onto campus that are not in alignment with Catholic teaching. But there was a document that the Vatican released in March, an instruction about Catholic school identity. And that document clarified that local bishops have the authority to determine whether a school can call itself a Catholic school or not. So it is a good idea for parents and concerned citizens, donors, boards of trustee to let the bishop know if they have concerns at their Catholic school, whether it's diocesan or not. The regional bishop has the authority to make that determination. Okay,
what about the public schools? Who do you go to? How do you organize people to say, "Hey, we got to clean up this act. Our taxpayers' money is going to this, and we don't want this for our children"?
Well, a lot of voters focus on national elections, but the most important election is really the local elections that take place. We're talking about school board elections and other city and county elections that really influence how life goes locally for your family.
I talked to it from the pulpit. I talk about this, how important the school board elections are. They're very important. You know why? They influence the next generation. And that's the future. That's the future of our society, and certainly the future of our town. And it makes a big impact on what the world is going to be like if we're not watching what is being taught in the schools. So what we're going to do, what we are doing, we are having forums for the school board here in Florida, Collier County. And we are asking those who are running very, very serious questions. And most of them who are running, they will pay a visit to me, because I want to hear from them what they stand for. But then it's not only, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to be concerned about what they say they stand for, but this old expression, the proof is in the pudding. And you go to the school board meetings and you listen to what they're saying and to what they're voting on, because it's your kids that they are influencing. And you have an obligation to those children. Am I right, Mary?
Well, whether you're in a red state or a blue state, Father, we also need to pay attention not just to what the candidates are saying, but who's funding them. Teachers' unions will fund candidates, even in red states. And once that candidate has been funded by the teachers' union, the activism that we've been talking about is part of that candidate's agenda at that point, because they've been funded by the teachers' union.
Okay, what is the nefarious plan behind all of this? I mean, critical race theory. Everybody knows it's phony. All right, started by New York Times, the 1619 Project, and everybody's a racist. Look, believe me, I mean, there are some people who are. God help them, have mercy on their souls. But I don't think most people are, And then the same thing, we have this LGBTQ plus agenda. I mean, why? Why are you influencing students from a young age to be confused as to what country they're in, who's good and who's bad, and who's a boy and who's a girl, and who's half and half? I don't get it. Who's behind all this? Why?
Well, I think a lot of these activists will tell you that their focus is on school safety. They found out that was an effective political talking point to be used. But what we're really seeing is by creating this division, they are able to influence kids. For example, critical race theory, they're able to influence kids in basically an anti-free market, anti-American worldview, essentially. And it comes down to specifics. The transportation system needs to be reimagined. The school system, our whole financial system, all of these systems under critical race theory, under this idea of oppressed and oppressor, the idea is basically transforming the American political system. That's the bottom line.
Is this part of the New World Order? I mean, you've heard that expression. Is that what this is?
I think some parents that I talk to have those concerns, Father, and they're right to be asking those questions. You have children.
What have you done, or still do, to keep an eye on what they are learning? What do you do? How do you keep on top of their daily work at school, what they hear, who spoke to them, what they're reading?
Yeah, parents definitely need to be involved. They need to be in close communication with teachers and school leaders. They need to be looking over what their kids are doing at school. If they're in a Catholic school, I think the questions that they can ask are the school leaders practicing Catholics? Are the religion teachers Catholic? Is the school curriculum in alignment with Catholic teaching, or is it critical theories influenced? Is it postmodern based? Look at the English curriculum. Are they studying classics, or are they reading? If all of their materials were written in the last 20 years and half of them are graphic novels, parents are right to be concerned and to be asking questions.
Okay, but this would also prove true for Christian schools, not just Catholic schools, but for Christian schools. Parents would have to be on top of what is being taught at the school that they're sending their child to. So it's Catholic, it's Christian. I suppose it's also true for a yeshiva. A parent would have to know what is going on, because so many people have infiltrated our educational system. And it's the way that, folks, I hate to use this term, but this is the way the communists have always operated. Communism infiltrates the schools. Why? You begin to change the way children think. And then, they grow up to be from little communists to big communists. And that's how they have this transformation of society. But there's more to it than this transformation of society. The more to it is their souls. They are in danger of losing their souls, because these sex education programs are encouraging them to do things with their bodies that are contrary to God's law. And the Bible says to us, God made the male and female. And when we say, well, maybe not. Maybe there are 3 genders, 4 genders. Maybe there are mixed genders, transgenders. I would say that it's pretty insulting to the Creator. And then to encourage these people that they can act out sexually in any way they want, it is contrary to God's law. And that's why, when we're talking about, the schools, it's the whole child is being educated there. And parents have to be involved. One of the things that I found out over the years was I'm very impressed with homeschooling because in certain circumstances I'm saying to myself, what are you sending the child to school for? It's like, it's like going there and like coming in contact with the plague-ridden city. You're going to come out of there with something. So what do you think about homeschooling?
I have been very encouraged by the increase in homeschooling, especially in the last 2 years. But, there's been a renaissance in Catholic homeschooling since the mid-1970s. And I think, that some of the culture wars will abate when families are able to choose the education option that best matches their family values. So for many families, that is homeschooling. Catholic schools, other faith-based schools, giving parents choices and giving parents transparency so they're able to make informed choices, I think is the way to go, Father.
So really, school choice, you're talking about school choice, that is the way to go. I believe it is the way to go. Let parents make a decision as to what they want their children to learn, where they want their children to be educated and come in contact with a certain kind of a community. Community is very important in school. What the teachers teach, what the other students believe, what the administration the environment that the administration sets up in a school, it's extremely important. Even the nurses and the people who are involved with counseling, this all sets a certain framework for a child's worldview. Okay. Now, as a parent, and you have a number of other parents working along with you?
Well, we are doing some investigative reporting so that parents can be aware of what's happening in schools. We are looking at other options that can be influential, whether it's public records requests or filing complaints or litigation, whatnot, anything that will be effective in protecting children and reclaiming our schools for our kids.
Okay, tell me about the litigation part of it. Okay, let's make believe parent hears that their son or their daughter is being encouraged to decide what they want to be, a boy or a girl, right? They started this, preschool it starts. Telling children you could be whatever you want to be. Do you feel like a little boy today, a little girl today? What would you like to be? Now, how do you litigate that?
Oh, I don't think I can get into that during your program, Father, but as parents have concerns, the bottom line is parents need to be informed.
Okay, so you're talking about parental consent. Now, could you demand that from the school? Say, hey, I don't want my kid in this class. And will the school honor that?
You need to be asking those questions and asking for that. And if you don't get the answers that you're happy with, you need to escalate it. Also, contact us. We're happy to help. So you can find us on the internet, parentsdefendinged.org. That's defendinged.org. If you would like to submit a tip, if you need resources, if you would like to connect with us.
Okay, folks, you heard that now, and this is very important because, certainly we've had our share of controversy here in Florida. You've heard, Governor DeSantis, we passed a bill that you cannot teach this sexuality, from preschool to third grade. I mean, to me, it shouldn't be, anything. You just leave it to the parents in the home to teach this stuff. But third grade. So, yeah, the governor here has been wonderful. In other states, it's not quite the same story. And so parents have to become activists. You know, the other side, they're always activists, aren't they? They seem to be very, very well funded. Not just the teachers' unions, but they seem to be very, very well funded. They seem to be able to catch the attention of the media, right? How about the media? How does the media treat you?
I noticed that one of the national activist groups had an event in your city recently at the United Church of Christ on Saturday, and this was the Glisten of Collier County. It was a transgender activist event for age 12 to 18. And what I think parents need to be aware of is some of this activism is happening in Florida because national groups are not happy that Governor DeSantis is protecting Florida school children. So even Florida parents need to be aware of what's going on. This event on Saturday, children were bused from out in Immokalee and a couple of the middle schools and brought into Naples for this event.
Yeah, the school system said that they were not involved with it. And I heard that the pastor of the church had recently resigned. Well, you know, I don't know if all that is true, that the school system knew nothing about it, but they certainly didn't pay for it. Let's put it that way. Why the pastor resigned? Did he get heat from the people in his church? I would hope so. But, you know, ladies and gentlemen, here you have it. Even the churches are infiltrated. Even the churches are infected with this. So you also have to choose your churches very, very carefully, because you might be going to church, and let me be quite blunt. If they are involved with LGBTQ and encouraging children to act out sexually in a way that is inappropriate according to the scriptures, if they are telling children you don't have to identify with your biological gender, this is not the gospel. This is not the gospel, right? This is of the devil. And there's all this political correctness today, and everybody wants to feel like, you know, oh, I am so open-minded. I am so on board. I am so liberal in my thought. Look, the road to hell is wide. Okay, you buy into a perverted society, you become perverted yourself. You sin against yourself, and you break the law of Almighty God, right? Do you have any involvement with churches? I mean, we just talked about schools. What about churches? You know, the Boy Scout group, I mean, no more Boy Scouts. The Scout group, you know, they go to a certain church, and the church is a welcoming community, all right? Do you have any dealings with churches that are getting involved with this?
There is some concern when all of these organizations are flying under this banner of diversity and inclusion and equity, because you know, some of these events, you know, like this event in your town on Saturday, Father, you know, they're talking about workshops with forbidden queer literature. They're talking about a drag queen story time, and you know, but I think parents did a lot to get involved with raising awareness on what that event actually was. You know, the original registration form did not have any parental permission. Supposedly that was added later. The busing pickup location was changed. The school district came out against it. So I think when parents start speaking out, they're able to protect their children.
With your organization, you hear something, and you get a group of parents to make their displeasure known, okay? And they then go to the administration of the school. They confront the teachers, I suppose.
Informing either the school board or the board of trustees, and looking at what's going on in the school in terms of these diversity administrative departments. In a Catholic school, those departments could be the Christian Service Office. The curriculum can be classically based. There are many diocesan Catholic schools that are adopting a more classical curriculum. There are all positive changes that can be made when parents start speaking up.
I'm so glad we had you on the program today, because a lot of parents have to do the same thing. The idea, folks, is you've got to be involved. You've got to be involved. That's your job as parents and grandparents too. And you know what? I'm going to tell you one other thing that you should do. Support school board candidates. Let them know, the people know, that these people are acceptable because they stand for human values known as Judeo-Christian values found in Holy Scripture. That's what is important these days. And if they don't, you know what you should do? Just like the other side does. You out them and tell everybody the nonsense that they're perpetrating on our kids. Mary, I know you're for action, I'm for action, and I know you are too.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors for their wonderful support. Thanks for watching. Please join us next time for Action for Life. I'm for action, and I hope you are too. I'm Father Michael Orsi. I am your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program which talks about the gospel of Jesus Christ, the big G, and the little g, all the good things that people are doing to put the gospel of life into action. So please join us for the next episode of Action for Life. Hey gang, I know a lot of you sometimes can't watch all of our episodes of Action for Life. However, we have a solution for that. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search for Action for Life Florida. And you can catch up on all the shows, and guess what? Extra added bonus, you get to hear my weekly homily. So, YouTube and you make a fine couple. I'm Father Michael Orsi. I am your host for Action for Life Television, that good news program which talks about the gospel of Jesus Christ, the big G, and the little g, all the good things that people are doing to put the gospel of life into action. So please join us for the next episode of Action for Life.